Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I am here to talk through my April pile of possibilities. March has been kind of a slumpy month for me, so once again I don't want to commit myself to reading all of these books. Obviously library holds could come in and out, but I've been looking through my book stacks thinking, okay, what could really tempt me out of this reading slump? What would really make me feel good and grab my attention? So there are three books that I definitely want to read in April, so I'll start with those. The first is The Paris Affair by Anton Dubek. This is the sixth in his Buckingham series, so I can tell you very little about it. But we continue to follow Raymond and Nancy and all of our beloved characters from the series through World War II. We're in 1941 now? Yes, so we have 1941, but we are also getting some of Ray's backstory from the 1920s when he was a young and up-and-coming dancer as well. I love this whole series. I would recommend you go back to last June's vlogs where I talked about reading the first one, where I can give you more details about what this is in fact about. But I love this series, and I am so sad that I am closing in on the most recent book, and that means there won't be any for a while, so I'm trying to limit myself to one a month. I also think A Season for Scandal would definitely tempt me. This is another member of a series that I read last June. This is book 2 in a young adult historical fiction series set in the late Victorian era about a basically house of young female spies. Think Oliver, but with young women, and instead of stealing handkerchiefs or trinkets, they're stealing secrets and aiding great efforts. The first one was very, very enjoyable, and I now have the other two in the series, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. This follows another of the characters that we meet in book 1, and I believe book 3 does the same thing as well. So this one follows Marigold. And yeah, it's also part of a series, so can't say more than that. And then I definitely want to read Human Rights by Juno Dawson. This is the last in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series. I am so sad to be ending it, but I cannot wait to find out what happened to these characters. The first two books were so good. The second one especially really gripped me. I especially recommend the second one on audiobook, as it is read by Nicola Coughlan, who is a wonderful narrator. So I can't tell you exactly why I'm so desperate and slightly scared to find out how this is all going to resolve, because it would spoil major things about books 1 and 2. But what I love about this series is not only is the plot really original, in that there's a branch of government that is run by witches who are taking care of basically national defense on the supernatural front, and we are following some of their members. But in addition, the way it tackles actual current themes so insightfully and so perfectly. The way that book 1 looked at trans issues, and especially trans women, was just incredible. And the same with book 2, where it looks at witch hunts and misogyny. So powerful, so frustrating. There were so many moments when I came away from those books just so angry, because you see the truth of how a lot of people feel, which isn't right, and it's not painted as being in the right. But these books then also show you potential consequences of that, and I just love the way she handles them, so I can't wait to see what she does with this last book. Now we come to my pile of possibilities of other books that I might feel like reading in April. So in no particular order, I have been feeling called to possibly reading some E.F. Benson, but not Map and Lucia, although I do have a bind-up of some of the Map and Lucia books, which I know are quite popular. But recently at a local book sale, I found many of E.F. Benson's other standalone works, so I picked up some of them. I could probably read this book, The Blotting Book, as it is quite small, and I believe it's a mystery. Let me just look over the back again. One of the progenitors of the classic British mystery, according to the Washington Post. Not even going to tell you how I misread this main character's last name. Interesting. So we start with Morris Ashton, who is in love and wants to be married. However, he discovers that someone has been spreading horrible rumors about him to his fiancée, which naturally break off their relationship. He then discovers that the person spreading these was their family lawyer. Then the family lawyer ends up dead, and naturally people begin to suspect Morris, and things unfold from there to discover who is, in fact, the culprit. And that sounds quite fun. I've been feeling in an Agatha Christie-esque sort of mood lately, so that might scratch that itch. I also have Secret Lives, which is a novel about a particular neighborhood, Durham Square, and its various residents who seem quite normal and respectable, but apparently are harboring grave and deep and shocking secrets. And I have a feeling this could be quite a lot of fun. Or I've been feeling drawn to As We Are, which is a bit of a satirical look at the upper class post-World War I. During and post-World War I, I believe. Which I feel could be quite timely. So I might feel like picking that one up. When I finish my current spate of library audiobooks, I might be pulled to pick up The Duke's Children on audiobook by Anthony Trollope. This is the last in his Palliser series, and it is also the last Trollope audiobook I could listen to that is narrated by Sir Timothy West. And knowing that there won't be any more of those is really quite sad because they are delightful company. Naturally, this being the last in a series, I can't tell you much about it, but I do believe we follow Plantagenet Palliser and his family still yet always. Beyond that, even I don't know too much. I try not to look up too much about them going in. I'm presuming that other characters from previous novels will also filter in and out of this story. As I gathered the links to all of these books that I leave down in the description box, I did catch a glimpse on Goodreads that one of the main characters of this series may have died in between the last book and this book, which is a terrible feeling. But I'll find out, I suppose. I've also been feeling like young adult could also be a good gateway out of a reading slump. So Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston has often featured on these lists for that exact reason, and I do really mean to read it one day. I just haven't gotten there yet. Nothing against it, just haven't gotten there yet. If you need me to describe this to you, this follows a fictional modern universe in which the president's son and the heir to the British throne meet, hate each other initially, and then fall in love. And by all accounts, it is adorable. I know people loved the book, people loved the show that was on Amazon Prime. I have not touched either, so I do want to get to this. I also recently found a copy of Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, which is a classic young adult novel in the UK, but very hard to get hold of here in the US. So when I found a copy available here, I grabbed it. There are apparently others in this series as well, which are even harder to find, but I'm happy with just reading the first one right now. This is a dystopian novel, I believe, in which we have star-crossed lovers, and there is a distinct social hierarchy that is keeping them apart that I believe is based along racial lines. And beyond that, I really don't know much, but I have heard tons about this in the past 20 years or so. And even in looking on Goodreads, the number of incredible Black authors who were quoted as saying how much they loved this book really makes me want to read it. People like Candace Carty-Williams and Benjamin Zephaniah, and even the musician Stormzy, Zawe Ashton. I am very intrigued to find out what this is actually like. In another repeat performance on this channel, I do want to start the Light Years at some point, although do I want to read more of the Forsyte saga first? As this has very similar feels, I know it's set in a different era, but still big family sagas with period drama adaptations that I could watch while crafting. Both sound very, very appealing to me right now. And then I've been watching my nonfiction pile get larger and larger and feeling very guilty about not touching any of them. So there are two books that I feel like might tempt me. One is Story of a Murder by Hallie Rubenhold. I love all of Hallie Rubenhold's books. The Five is probably her most famous, and it was fantastic. But I also encourage you to read The Scandalous Lady W, which I think is sometimes titled The Lady in Red here in the US. I've read some of her fiction novels as well. She really is incredible. The Covent Garden Ladies, which looks at prostitution in Regency England. This one looks at the Dr. Crippen murders, which was a very famous Edwardian murder case. And I remember some things about it through the Stephen Fry podcast about the Edwardians. This was one of the episodes that he covered. But once again, I believe Hallie Rubenhold is trying to center the women who were involved in the case. And I'm really intrigued to see what new perspectives she brings to that. What more detail can I gain about this case? Or if I'm feeling like something a little bit lighter, I could also read Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy by Anne Boyd Ryu, which looks at Little Women and why it still matters. Why are we still drawn to the story of Little Women? I know this was very, very popular years ago on BookTube, and I finally found a discarded library copy, which is why it's so shiny. So I might pick this up as well. So those are the books that I might pick up in April. Obviously, I am not holding myself to finishing all of these books. I could change my mind completely in a couple of weeks. As always, library holds could always come in. I will have arcs that I need to read, so it will be a mix of these books. But let me know down below if you think I should push some of these books to the top of my list, apart from those first three, which are already top of my list. Let me know if you have exciting reading plans for April. Let me know if you've also been in a little bit of a slumpy mood, and how do you deal with that? Until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye, everyone.